Believe in LA Football Podcast.
Touchdown Rams! Touchdown UCLA! Recovered by the Chargers. The Trojans back in front.
With your hosts, the Coach and the Don, part of the Believe Podcast Network, LA's #1 sports podcast network.
What's up, delegates, and happy Thursday. Welcome to the LA Football Podcast here on the Believe Podcast Network. Also on LAFBnetwork.com, your destination for Los Angeles football. Coach, what's going on, my friend?
Hey, not a whole lot. Just enjoying the day. How are you doing?
Doing great. You know, Christmas is around the corner. We're going to have some special Christmas stuff next week. Not today, though. We got a jam-packed show for you today. We have a very special interview with Eric Davis, former San Francisco 49er and current host on the Believe Network, host the Niners show there. So he jumps on to talk with us about the Rams-Niners preview. Big matchup. Rams still holding on by a thread. Still alive, Rams fans. I know it doesn't feel like it. Season feels over, but technically, mathematically, they are still alive. But obviously, this is a must win. After that, we'll do a very brief Chargers preview, who play host to the Raiders. The last time the Raiders will play at Dignity, but last time both teams, well, not both teams, but yeah, last time the Raiders will play here at Dignity before moving into the new stadium, and then the Raiders obviously are on their way to Vegas, so that should be a fun matchup nonetheless, even though both teams' seasons are essentially done. Then yesterday was early signing day for college football, so a lot of big news coming out of UCLA and USC, so we'll get into that. I know there's a lot of angered USC fans, but we'll look at some of the positives, some of the good recruits there, and UCLA had a rather good day, I would say, Coach. They had a pretty good haul, yeah?
Yeah, it was a very big positive for the campus of UCLA.
Yeah, so good job, Bruin. So yeah, we'll talk about some prospects for each of those teams. And then finally we have a very special interview, kind of our launching episode for the XFL. I know we've done some segments for it, but it's our first live interview, and we actually welcome on the president of the LA Wildcats of the new XFL. So that'll be a really fun conversation. Talk to her about, why she's joined the team and what they're planning to do there, and then that'll kind of just launch our coverage going forward into the season. So great episode. Really looking forward to getting right into it.
Yeah, man, really excited to get into those conversations and those topics for sure. But before all that, I want to talk about sleep. Ryan, listen to these studies from Harvard and Johns Hopkins. Chronic sleep deprivation has been shown to lead to depression, diabetes, obesity, and cardiovascular disease. That one gets me every time. Based on these studies, we need 8 hours of sleep. I know for one, I never get a full 8 hours. It's either broken up at some point in the night. I never get a full 8, uninterrupted for sure. One of sleep's biggest problems, temperature. Tough to get a good sleep if you're too hot or too cold. I want to tell you about the Pod by 8 Sleep. The Pod by 8 Sleep is a high-tech bed designed specifically to help you achieve optimal sleep fitness. It was developed by leading sleep researchers after tracking 43 million hours of sleep. It combines dynamic temperature regulation and sleep tracking to enhance your rest and recovery. It learns your sleep habits and adjusts the temperature automatically. That means if you like the bed cool, your partner likes the bed warm, now you can have both at the same time. In a crazy, comfortable bed, nonetheless. Sleep longer and deeper so you wake up refreshed and ready to take on the world. Try the Pod for 100 nights, and if you don't love it, they'll refund your purchase and arrange a free pickup. They already sold out of their first 2 batches, so they are going fast. For a limited time, though, you can get $150 off your purchase when you go to 8sleep.com/pro. That's EIGHT sleep.com/pro. That's 8sleep.com/pro. Ryan, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, sleep is extremely important, so I know I'll be checking that out, especially around the holidays. Makes for a great gift for those loved ones, or probably just for yourself, so you can get that extra sleep at this time of year. So
there you go.
Good stuff. But yeah, great. Let's jump in now to our interview with Eric Davis. Well, we are extremely excited to welcome on the Believe in LA Football podcast a 2-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All-Pro, Super Bowl 29 champion, and now host of the Believe in 49ers podcast. Eric Davis, thanks so much for joining us. How you doing?
I am well. Running around like crazy, but I'm doing good. Looking forward to this weekend and the game.
Absolutely. Always staying busy. Love it. But we have a great matchup this weekend with the Rams and 49ers. Let's just get right into it. Obviously, Niners coming off a tough loss to the Falcons last week, and the Rams coming off a brutal loss to the Cowboys, but still hanging on for dear life for a playoff berth. Looking at the Niners, though, who have been kind of become known as a rushing juggernaut in the NFL this season, have, a little bit of late kind of turned to the passing game a little more, especially after that tremendous win over the Saints. Now, you look at the Rams last week, who gave up over 263 yards rushing to the Cowboys, 3 touchdowns to two different backs. So what do the Niners have to do in this game to really establish that running game and take back over that dominant side of the ball?
Well, it's going to be whether or not they're committed to the run. The last time the Rams and the 49ers played, Rams did a pretty good job with the run, but the 49ers were committed to it. I mean, you run the ball 30, 40 times. You're saying that you're going to try to control the pace of the game. You're going to try and keep the opposing offense off of the field, and you're going to try to limit the number of series that they get. And I think they're going to go back to that. Now, it's going to be interesting to see if Wade Phillips tries to take his defense and move it around to do any of the things that Dan Quinn did against the 49ers, because he threw in that 5-man front, jumped into a bear front and sort of threw them off, and it was something they hadn't seen all year. It was something that the Falcons hadn't shown all year. But you also had Dan Quinn, who knows more about Kyle Shanahan and his philosophy than anyone, because, I mean, from a defensive coordinator standpoint, a defensive football coach standpoint, he's the one that Kyle has had to explain it to, like why he's doing things when he's his head coach. So I'm sure they're going to get back into running the football, because hell, he's a Shanahan, man. You go to his dad, they run the football.
Yeah.
That's what they're going to do. So they're going to just get back to that system. I believe you'll see the same commitment that they had the first time, even though they weren't gashing the Rams in the run. I still think they're going to try to run the ball, because everything that they want to do in the passing game is just like the Rams. It's not play action, it's run action. They got to get you playing the run to be able to successfully throw the ball the way they want to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt. And flipping sides to the defensive side, some news on Richard Sherman, who missed the loss to the Falcons last week, said he's going to be out there. Now, Coach Shanahan came out and said that it'd be multiple weeks after his hamstring injury. But what do you think? Is Richard just kind of blowing smoke, or do you think he's going to be there on a short week?
It just depends on the guy and how a guy heals. Me personally, as a player, I was a very quick healer. And then the other part of it, I knew how to play as I became a veteran, just like Sherman. I knew how to do my job when I was injured. Because, that old adage in football is that you have to play hurt, and that's so not true. It's not that you have to play hurt. You have to be able to perform hurt, because anybody can run out there and limp around. But can you do your job while you're hurt? And Sherman can do his job. So if he says he's good to go, he's good to go. Doesn't mean he's 100% healthy. Doesn't mean that it's not bothering him. That just means that he's capable of doing his job. And a lot of times, I remember when my coach in college finally started doing it. Early in my career as a freshman, starting as a freshman, it was you have to practice to play. By the time I was a junior, I didn't have to practice. And he would even tell the other guys, I'd rather have 75% of Eric than 100% of a guy that I know that's not as good. And that's the case with Sherm right now. I know he's looking at this like, if I'm feeling that I can do my job and perform, I'll get out there. I don't think he's blowing smoke. I think he's going to try. He's practicing. And if he can get out there and move around and practice, then he's going to try to get out there and play.
Yeah, and I think he knows better than anyone the matchup he has with this great Rams receiving core and the importance of this game. So I think, he'll put his team in the best situation, whether it's him or someone else.
Exactly. And you just said it. That's another thing, too. You think about how many reps he's had, how much film study he's had versus this Rams team versus McVay's offenses. Because that's one of the things and Sherman knows that. He and I have had this conversation. He's so far beyond the point of where he's paying attention to the receivers. You you don't play. You reach a point as a defensive back where you're not even concerned about the guy who's lined up in front of you. You're not playing him. You're playing the puppet master. Mm-hmm. You're playing McVay. Mm-hmm. The game. That's just the chess piece, and it's going to go where it's being where the assignment dictates that it goes. The mind that you have to get inside of is the coordinator, the play caller. And once you understand the play caller, you know and that goes for every game, every team. Once you know a guy's philosophy, once you know where he learned his football, the style of football he has, the way he came up learning to coach, you can figure out what he likes to do. And it'll stay true to form. And Sherman has gone against McVay and the offense that he runs so often. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things where a lot of the routes he won't even have to go full speed on because he's going to know where the guys are going and he'll just meet them there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, let's stick with the defense and talk about this defensive line. Obviously, it's been talked about a lot all year, what they've been able to do. Obviously, most of the talk kind of centered around the rookie there and Nick Bosa, but who do you think has been the most integral part of that unit and what has turned their success around this season?
Oh, you know what? There's so many factors on that defensive front mm-hmm. that you can look at. This is a group that had 6-7 guys that were legitimate starters starting out. Yeah. They've had some injuries there, but I think part of it is just with the consistency Armstead and Buckner have been able to play with. Solomon Thomas, all of these guys, we know that they were high draft picks and they are talented guys, but they don't. It's not a particular guy. It's the fact that I think all of these guys in that front, when you have Bosa and Q's guy Ford coming off the edge, D Ford coming in when he's healthy and coming off the edge, when you have that pace, those big bodies in the middle feel comfortable that the guy next to them will be able to do their job. I think that's the most important thing. It's not even a question of a guy saying, I am the guy. There are just so many solid players across the board, and they don't feel the pressure to try and be that superstar. None of the guys on that front have the Aaron Donald moniker. Mm-hmm. They don't have the Aaron Donald pressure to perform. They don't have the Aaron Donald expectations. They had that before. And it's something about the way they have all settled into their positions this year to where they all feel like, okay, I can contribute my part. And when they get their one-on-ones, they take advantage of it. And that goes for their first unit and their second unit. And I think that's why they've really been pretty consistent at pressuring the quarterback this year. Nick Bosa's getting the attention. But as far as and deservedly so, because he's this is a rookie coming in and he doesn't perform like a rookie. His body is not even going to fall apart like a rookie because he kind of took last year off. He trained like last year was his rookie season. Mm-hmm. He had an off season like last year was his rookie season, and it's actually showing up already. But that's what I would say about this front. It's not even a guy that I'm going to just point out and say this is the guy, because I could throw a name out and every name on that front, I could say, well, this week he did this, and the previous week he did this, and versus this team, this was the guy that took over. It's kind of the same way Shanahan does with his running backs. It's by committee. Mm-hmm. That's the way that defensive front is. Robert Saleh's sort of been rolling these guys in by committee, and they're all getting it done.
Yeah, that's a perfect segue, Eric, into my next question. I was going to ask you about Robert Saleh and the job he's done with this defensive unit all year. So how do you feel about Saleh and how he's done in 2019? And do you think this guy could be a head coach pretty soon in the future?
Well, I think Saleh is doing a very good job with the players that he has. This is the thing about every coach in the league. It is incredible how much better you are at coaching when you have better talent in your meeting rooms. Yeah, it's just really that simple.
Simply put,
if you have really good players, the Niners did a very good job of drafting, and they've done a very good job of developing young players. John Lynch has brought in big bodies. He's, a while back when everyone was like, what are you doing? He said, I have to build a defensive front that's a championship front. That's how he started things off. But remember where John Lynch played football. It's like I was talking about, going against those offensive coordinators. Guys just learned football a certain way. John Lynch saw that with a defensive front, you have an opportunity to build everything else around it and create a solid defense. So they have that now. You go out and you get Sherman. I was beating the drum. I was texting Sherman, come put on my 25, wear my colors, come in. When he was injured, I was beating the drum like, go get Sherman, because I was like, I don't know why all of a sudden people think he's old and he can't play. He just got injured. He's going to get healthy. Look, he's healthy. He's back in the Pro Bowl. He's Sherman again. So you have players there, and then you have Emmanuel Mosley, who is developing into a solid player. Witherspoon, they're developing into solid players. You start looking at Tart and Ward. These guys are playing, and Saleh's putting them in a good position. So, do I think he is doing a very good job? Yes, he understands what he has, how to call a game with the players to put them in position to perform, and that right there is a major part of being a head coach. As you talk about, do you understand how to utilize the talent that you have? That goes for the talent in the coaching staff and the talent on the field. Saleh is showing that he understands what he wants from his defensive coaches and from his defensive players. So he's on his way to being in that position. We will see if he gets his opportunities to do it. It normally takes a minute. We're all hot. It's a microwave Twitter society now, so everybody gets caught up in the now. But there are some other guys that are doing some things. But I do think Saleh is a solid coach, and yeah, he definitely seems to have the stuff that's necessary to be a head coach.
Yeah, certainly done a great job so far this season, and has that unit playing tremendous. Well, last one for me. You talked about in the beginning the rushing and how they need to stick to the run. Obviously, they will need to throw the ball at some point. And one of the guys the Rams defense and Wade Phillips will be keying in on is the great Pro Bowler George Kittle at tight end. Last week against the Falcons, actually, he garnered 50% of pass attempts from Garoppolo, had 17 targets his way, while Sanderson Samuel just accounted for 7 targets. So looking at that offensive side, looking at the passing game, and what the Rams will try to do, how important do you think it is to get Sanders, Samuel, and these other receivers involved instead of just having Kittle at such a forefront? Or does that matter to you and just give the Kittle the ball as much as possible?
Would you tell Drew Brees to stop throwing the ball to Michael Thomas?
Fair
question. That's just a question.
Yep. I would not.
I would
not.
Would either of you guys would either of you guys as a coach say, Drew Brees, I don't want you to throw the ball to Michael Thomas as much. I want you to get the other guys involved. Would you guys do that?
No.
Me personally, I would not tell Drew Brees to do anything, but definitely not that either.
Okay, that's the thing about Kittle. Thomas is the number one receiver. You wouldn't tell Watkins to stop throwing the ball to DeAndre Hopkins.
Mm-hmm.
We can go down the list and we can talk about guys. You won't say Matt Ryan, don't throw the ball to Julio. It's what's throwing everyone off is that Kittle has a TE by his position.
Mm-hmm.
Kittle is their number one receiver. He's the number one receiver. So and in every other team, you try and get the ball to the number one receiver. So much so that when he's not getting the ball, everyone will sit around and say the offensive coordinator has to figure out a way to get the ball to him. It doesn't matter if he's double covered. You have to design something to get the ball to him. That's how everyone looks at the number one WR. Well, he's the number one receiver. He's the number one receiver. He just happens to be a tight end. So I don't have a problem with them getting the ball to him. The only problem I had with him last week wasn't the number of catches. It was the fact that he fumbled that ball, that would have possibly been a first down. Mm-hmm. And more than likely they would have had an opportunity to run the clock out and win that game. So on that last drive. Kittle, is there. I don't think you have to. You've had games in which other guys have gotten their catches. Sanders is definitely a plus on the team, but this offense is designed, and guys really understand it's why we see such a surge at the tight end position. The rules, the game is now designed for a tight end to be a good player. You're now getting athletic guys that can move in space, guys that are matchup problems at the tight end position, that, too big for DBs, too fast and athletic for linebackers. You're getting that basketball type guy to play that position. And more importantly, the rules of the game say that you can't hit anybody in the middle of the field. Mm-hmm. If you hit anyone, if you don't go low, if you don't allow a guy to catch a ball, if you hit him hard, it's going to be a penalty. So tight ends are weapons now. So if you're actually doing yourself a disservice as a team if you don't go out and get yourself a really good receiving tight end. They don't have to block now. Yep. That's a plus if they can, but it's an advantage for your offense. So yeah, I don't expect them to back off of Kittle. Now, if you leave Debo open, he'll get you. If you leave Sanders open, he'll get you. You have to pay them attention. But if you don't, get Kittle, it's one of those things. It's the question is, do you want Sanders to make the plays outside, or do you want Kittle to make them across the middle, and you take your chances there? Mm-hmm. I say you try to do it death by installment. Make the tight end have to make plays, have to go down the field. But yeah, I don't think they're going to stop it. Niners don't have that over the top guy. Even with Sanders, they don't have the over the top guy, and more importantly, that's not their offense. But Kittle's not going to go anywhere. He's the number one receiver. Expect him to get the ball. If they can give him 20 touches, they will. Just like a running back that you think can break the home run. He's their home run guy on offense.
Yeah, the tight end position definitely has changed a lot over the years, and guys like Kittle and Kelsey and Gronk, just a couple years ago, definitely leaders of offenses. So, Eric, this is going to be my final question here. With the roster that the 49ers have, they're starting to get banged up. They've had a great season. Does this team have the gas? Do they really have what it takes to get to the Super Bowl?
Oh, yes, because they have the players. They have the players. Now, the question, and what last week showed me is more than anything is that health, just like every season, health is an issue for this team. Someone asked me a question about, the quarterback and Matt Ryan and Drew Brees, and could they stop this guy, and will they be able to stop Lamar Jackson if they have to? And I told them what I've seen from this defense. We just discussed Robert Saleh understanding how to use them. If they have a D Ford, if they have Ward out there, if Tart is out there, if Sherman is out there on the field, if you have all of these guys, and on top of that, there's a long shot that even Quan Alexander may come back, who is the heartbeat. He's the pulse. He's not necessarily the leader of the defense. That's Sherman, but Quan is the pulse of that. That's the blood flow, and it's hard to get a new heart. You can replace a player, but it's hard to replace the heart of something. But with all of those guys, any quarterback, I don't care if it's Jared Goff, I don't care if it's Drew Brees, I don't care if it's Aaron Rodgers, I don't care if it's Willie Beeman. They're gonna all have a hard time going against this guy and against that defense. So they have the team, and they are capable of making plays on both sides of the ball to make a run. As we all know, it takes more than just having the players. You got to have the luck. You got to have the health. You got to have things fall together at the right time, play, the right way. But, I do think that they have the makeup. I've seen enough of them now, and I've seen them see how they play against the better competition in the league. They have the makeup to give themselves an opportunity to win a championship.
Yeah, give John Lynch credit. They definitely built a championship caliber roster there, so it'll be fun to watch them down the stretch. So, Eric, I said last one, but I got to end with this since this is a Rams-Niners preview. Saturday night matchup, Rams coming 8-6, Niners 11-3. They can basically end the Rams season with the win here. Who you got? You taking the Niners in this one?
You know what? I'm going to take the Niners in this one because I do think, whether they want to admit it or not, I do believe that a lot of the gas left the tank for the Rams. Mm-hmm. They haven't figured out what the issue is. I personally think what's going on with the Rams is that you have an organization, you have a team, and they have a certain philosophy on what it is and how they want to win. And they're trying to win the way they won last year. The problem is that you don't have the roster that you had last year.
Yep.
You don't have the mindset within the players that you had last year. No knock on what you have. It's just every season's different. It's a different group of guys. And you look at the teams, you look around the league, you look at your division. Everyone else in your division got better.
Yep.
The Rams are still trying to do exactly what they did last year, and it's not going to work back-to-back years. It's just simply not. You have to get things differently. So I think that's the problem. And I think last week, more than anything, I think it kind of, whether they see it yet, it solidified it in their own psyche. So as soon as something goes wrong this week, it's going to go downhill.
Yeah, that seems to be the trend all year. We talk about it all the time on our show. And even the guys they have that are back, they're playing differently and playing at a different skill level. So it's been a up and down season for sure. But Eric, thank you so much for jumping on with us, giving us your insight for the Niners. And, best of luck the rest of the season. And we'll definitely keep in touch and talk soon.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you.
Well, big thanks to Eric Davis for jumping on with us. That was fun, Coach.
Yeah, always cool to talk to a guy that's been there and done that, you know?
Yeah, obviously played for the team, knows the team extensively, covers the team here on Believe. So good to get his insight. Should be a great game. I mean, we touched on it obviously throughout the interview, but do you think the Rams have a shot in this one?
I mean, yeah, they have a shot. I think the Rams are good enough to have a shot against any team in the NFL. It's just if they play to their, highest potential or not.
Yeah, exactly. And you're going to have to do everything right in every facet. But yeah, it's a must-win. We'll see how they come out and play, see McVay's game plan, if he can bounce back. And kind of as Eric alluded to, if they can kind of adapt a little bit, which they have not done throughout the year, and we saw that extensively against the Cowboys. But should be a game. It's a Saturday night kickoff. So those of you waiting to watch it, don't wait till Sunday or you'll miss the game. Saturday night in primetime. So, well, now let's get to a little Chargers preview. But before we do, it's that time of year. Christmas is coming up quick as we're approaching the 25th, and our friends at MyBookie want to make your season special with 12 days of gifts. MyBookie is already one of the most trusted and reputable sports books in the industry, and this holiday season, they're getting into the spirit of giving with 12 straight days of giveaways. That's right, 12 days of gifts. A brand new gift every single day so you can make your game to the next level. They kicked off this promotion on the 14th with a free parlay for the UFC, and they'll keep up the gift through the 25th. Free bets, free spins, futures, and more. While Santa has his, they've checked off their list. They've got a little something for everyone, and this is the promotion you do not want to miss, especially with the NBA, the NHL in full swing. You got college football bowl games coming up, and obviously the NFL still going off for 2 more weeks before the playoffs start. So head over to mybookie.ag right now and use our promo code BLV to get half off your initial deposit in free wagers. And that's just the start of your savings. Make sure to check the site out during this promotion because there's going to be something new every day, and you're going to want to take advantage of these deals. So go sign up for MyBookie with our code BLV and start winning today. All right, Coach. So we got the Chargers hosting the Oakland Raiders. Last time we'll be saying that as they play an LA team. Season's pretty much all but over. They're playing these games because they got to play them. They're on the schedule, but there's not much coming from them other than draft position coming up here. But what's one positive you want to see this Chargers team put forth and come out of this game?
At this point, I just want to see a well-rounded offensive balanced team. I want to see them kind of not focus in on one guy, not have a go-to, but have a lot of go-tos. I love it when Austin Eckler goes off, but that doesn't always necessarily translate into wins. So I want to see a little bit more production from the entire offense, not just 1 or 2 guys.
Yeah. Speaking of Eckler, Pro Bowl snub. Do you think is he a huge snub? Is it somewhat warranted, or was it just straight up blasphemy that he's not going to the Pro Bowl, at least as an alternate.
Yeah, I mean, the question is, what does he go as? That's the biggest thing. Like, does he go? He's good, and they need to have like a
flex position,
like an all-purpose back position or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I get it. I get why he's not going, because what do you send him as? He's not good enough to be he's not a receiver, and he's not good enough to be one of the best running backs at the Pro Bowl. So it's tough. I get it. He should be there, but I just it's an interesting thing.
Yeah. There was a lot of numbers going around. I think comparing him to like Marlon Mack, who did make it in. But yeah, it's hard just because of Eckler's production comes at different facets, not all at one. Even though yes, he plays the running back position, but yeah, it's interesting. So I thought either way he should have gotten in just for what he's meant to this offense and the overall all-purpose yards he did put up, but it is what it is, so he will not be going. Unfortunate for him and for the Chargers, but I think one day he will be in there. But I like your statement there on adding kind of a flex position. I think that would make things very interesting, at least concerned with the Pro Bowl, which you need every bit of interest for that game as you can. And I think that would help.
Yeah, they already do the draft, right? They still do the draft, or is it still AFC, NFC, or how do they do that now?
They've changed it every year. It's not a draft. I know that. Now it's actually you know what? Because they get selected and then afterwards maybe they do a draft. But yeah, I don't know 100% how it is right now. I guess we could find that out.
Yeah, but anyway, what I'm saying is they're always trying to find a way to get the Pro Bowl back to actually being warranted watching, or the ratings have gone down or whatever, interest has gone down. What they need to do is they need to try to make this as much like fantasy football as possible.
I like that.
Have a draft, have a flex, have different things to where it feels more like a fantasy football type of thing. So I think that would be something they could do to really kind of ramp this thing up to where it used to be.
And have it you could even mess with the scoring and not have it actually be scored based on just obviously touchdowns and field goals, but based on what players get points per production. That could be interesting. I don't know how that would work.
Yeah,
but
I think there's a lot of things you can kind of look at and do fun things with.
Yeah, especially with how huge fantasy football is. Why not tap into that market and make this game more marketable? So, looking back at this game, it's a rivalry game. It's a division game. It's always fun. Raiders and Chargers. It's always fun since it's been here in LA now. Back with the Chargers moving up here. So I'm taking away. I want to see a good defensive performance. You talk about good offense. I'll talk about good defense. Have a good in showing here with Joey Bosa, Derwin James, and come away full, clean bill of health. I hope so. I feel like there's not a ton really to break down in this one, but there's just a good, clean game, and I want to see some good defensive production from Bosa and company.
I like it. Yeah, I like it.
So one thing I want to touch on before we move on, we kind of talked pre-show about how here the Chargers are in year 3 up in Los Angeles, and there's still plenty of chatter, whether we think it's nationally or not, or more just in San Diego, but all the chatter about San Diego shouldn't have moved and whatnot. And then you have the Raiders, who just played their last home game in Oakland. And it seems to be more just, obviously people in Oakland are upset, but it seems to be more of a accepted fate. They're going to Vegas, and people are kind of more behind it. Maybe it's because Raider Nation is more, coast to coast, whereas the Chargers were basically just in San Diego, but also up in here in LA. But, after that, or right before the last home game, you had a reporter ask Mark Davis, the owner, about, the nostalgia and if he was going to be sad to leave in Oakland, and here was his response.
Any nostalgia for you at all, knowing that this is it here?
No, I went through this in '82,
All right, Chargers fan or San Diego Charger fans back in the day hate Dean Spanos. That guy is a marked man, probably never welcome back in the city of San Diego. I mean, how are fans feeling about Mark Davis after this?
I don't know. They're already upset with him. I mean, this is probably, if anything, it's just going to fuel the fire more, but they already didn't like the guy.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's an interesting, and I think it goes into that they do just have more of a widespread fan base all across the nation. That's probably why the move has been accepted more. At least I feel like it has been. Obviously, people in Oakland are upset, but it's not as nationally renowned. Whereas the Chargers, even still, you have reporters calling them San Diego, and during broadcasts, people saying San Diego, and everyone tweeting during games should have never left San Diego. Whereas this Oakland move seems to be more like, it is what it is. It's happening. Like, let's just accept it. So interesting, but they'll be in Vegas next year, so that'll be some fun trips for us as we can be Chargers reporters going out to Vegas for some coverage.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I feel like it's gonna be a harder transition for me to say the Las Vegas Raiders. Like, I might fumble a couple times actually on this one.
Yeah,
I feel like I didn't fumble with the Chargers. Like, I feel like I've never called them San Diego since they moved. I really don't.
Yeah, and I think. And I think it helps that we actually, are talking about them all the time, so we've become accustomed. But
right.
but I agree with you. It feels more natural. Whereas now going from the Oakland Raiders to the Las Vegas Raiders, it is going to be different.
Yes, it is. And I feel like I'm either gonna say Oakland Raiders or I'll just say the Raiders. Like, I feel like I'm not even gonna say the Vegas Raiders. It's just over time it's gonna become more natural, but right now it's just, God, it just sounds so awkward.
It does. So, well, they'll be in LA this weekend to face the Chargers in a, I guess, meaningless game, but still an entertaining game, still a division game. No one wants to finish last in that division, and right now the Raiders, Chargers, and Broncos are all fighting for that last place, so we'll see who comes out of that on top. But let's talk some college now. Early signing day was yesterday. You want to start with, should we start with USC or UCLA?
It depends. Do you want the bad news first or the good news first?
Okay, let's go USC first. We'll start with the bad and with the good. We like to go negative to positive on this show. So USC did not have the early signing day that a lot of people hoped. A lot of chatter all day about Clay Helton and Folt and Bone and just everything that's transpired with this university and this program. They finished yesterday, sitting right now. Obviously, we still have the big signing day in February, but we have currently USC ranks 79th in the nation with this recruiting class and dead last in the Pac-12. So before we get into some actually the recruits, I just want to hear some of your thoughts on that and what you think of how this has gone thus far.
Man, I was really hoping when they retained Clay Helton and then Graham Harrell, the Graham Harrell extension not meaning as much, but I really thought Justin Flo may be coming to the Coliseum. I really thought that Clay Helton staying was going to be the deciding factor on that. But, good for him. He made a decision to go to Oregon. I hope nothing but the best for him. I love Justin Flo. He's probably the best linebacker in the country in all reality. I think he would have been probably a day one starter for USC to replace John Houston. I really believe that. But no, so I felt like that Justin Flo decision, whatever way that was going to go, was going to kind of set the mark for motivation for the rest of the day. And that's kind of what happened. Justin Flo went to Oregon, and all of a sudden USC's recruiting class just looked less and less, positive.
Yeah, well, and Justin Flo right now being called the best linebacker prospect since Vontaze Burfict, who played at Centennial out in Corona. And, rightfully so, coming out of Upland. And it hurts more when a player in your own backyard not only doesn't come to one of your schools, but goes to one in your conference in a rival, in Oregon. It would have been one thing if you went to like Ohio State or Michigan or, the SEC or something like that. But when you stay within the conference and go to an Oregon team who has a very good recruiting class, and, Mario Cristobal up there has been known as a very good recruiter, it almost stings that much even more. But it definitely, currently, and we're not going to look at the negatives too much. We want to look at positives, and congrats to all these kids that did sign their letters yesterday. Hats off to them who've worked their tails off to get to this point. But at this point, definitely paints kind of a dark picture and a dark cloud that's really hanging over this entire staff and this entire program at the moment as it stands. Yeah,
no, this is a big deal. And if you can't get the guys from high school, you're not going to have a good team to field in college. And recruiting has been so huge. Clay Helton has done an okay job, but ever since his job status has been in the air, it's affected their recruiting.
Yeah, and that's the big thing. And you hope that once they finally announce the stability, but maybe it was just a little too late, that it would kind of turn things around. They still have time to improve, but last year finished with the 20th ranked recruiting class, which was the worst for USC in the modern recruiting era. And as I mentioned, currently they rank 79th. So 59 spots lower. Last in the Pac-12. The work is not done, but they got a lot of work to do if they want to turn this thing around. And hopefully that there is a little bit of stability now, they can kind of start to move that direction. But we'll see. Ugh. All right, well, enough with the negatives, enough with the dark clouds. Let's get some positives. 11 kids signed yesterday for the Trojans. Hats off to them. welcome them to the Trojan family. Super excited for them. They do have some, one 4-star currently, and the rest are all 3 stars. I know when you're looking at the Trojans, you want to see those 5 stars. Didn't get any of those at the moment, but you still got some good players here. Yes, they're not high in the rankings. Obviously, it hurts the national recruiting ranking, but still some good players, some good pieces. So we want to talk about a couple each. So I'll let you start with one of the recruits that you kind of want to highlight here, and get these Trojan fans, try to get some excitement back in this program.
Yeah, and I'm. Okay, you're going to think I'm making a joke, but I'm really not making a joke here. I'm being 100% legit. Parker Lewis.
Oh, my. I'm shocked you did, because I was going to do him, because I'm like, no way the coach talks about a kicker. But go ahead.
All right. So this kid is ranked nationally as the number 3 kicker in the nation. How you can actually rank these guys is, who knows who's deciding this. This kid is a stud. This kid is an absolute stud. When you think of kickers, you think of like these, maybe they came from the soccer team or, whatever. But this kid's a 6'3", 200-pound football player, okay? He's going to come in. He's going to take Chase McGrath's job. The writing's on the wall for Chase. He better start working out as a punter. I am actually really excited about Parker Lewis. I think this is going to be a big deal. I think this kid down the road is gonna show up in some big games, and I think Parker Lewis will go down in USC history as one of the most clutch kickers to ever set foot in LA.
Yeah, certainly could. I mean, 247 ranked 3, and in their composite rankings, he's 7th overall. So definitely high accolades. I want to know if he just wasn't as skilled in other areas. When you're 6'3", 200 pounds as a 17-year-old kid. Why you're not playing elsewhere on the field, just playing kicker?
Well, he probably was, but he's not going to at USC.
Okay, good point. Yeah, I guess my kicker in high school was also a linebacker. So
see, there you go. I bet this kid was playing something.
Yeah, but yeah, you're right. You got an athlete there. Hopefully, got a booming leg, and I'm just happy to see the coach talk about a kicker. Give him some credit.
I'm telling you, Parker Lewis, he is now my boy. He's my boy. Okay,
there you have it. Well, I'm going to talk about a position near and dear to my heart, the wide receiver position, and the current top-ranked recruit at that position for the Trojans currently is Josh Jackson, wide receiver out of Narbonne, which is in Harbor City, California, so local kid. 3-star, highly touted, 6 foot, 180 pounds, so he's got a good frame, good speed. He had offers from, I'm just going to list them all because he had a lot of offers here, ASU, Cal, Colorado, Florida, Michigan, Notre Dame, Oregon, TCU, Tennessee, Washington State, Stanford, and UCLA. So a lot of offers there. Decided to stay here with the Trojans, go to Wide Receiver University and join the elite wide receiver room that is here with the Trojans. So, he'll obviously have a lot of work to do to get on the field, but it's just another depth piece for him. Like I said, has good speed. He's ranked 72nd out of all wide receivers in the nation and 39th in the state out of all positions. I was watching some film on him, and, he's not, from what I could tell, an elite route runner at this point. Kind of was able to use his talent and his speed to kind of garner the great success he had in high school, so we'll want to see some improvement from that aspect, but definitely has the build for it, and he's coming to the right school if he wants to be an NFL prospect at the receiver position, that's for sure.
I thought about him, but it'll be a little bit before he makes an impact. I'm not saying that. Yeah. All these guys that we're going to list off are going to make an immediate impact. No, I think Josh Jackson will be very good for them. The Narbonne product has been a great high school receiver. It's going to take time before he sees the field with all that depth in front of him. There's a lot of names up there. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see this kid kind of come out of nowhere and all of a sudden lead the team in receiving down the road.
We're still waiting to hear Tyler Vaughn's decision if he's going to go to the draft. And obviously, you still have Amon-Ra St. Brown there. You got Drake Jackson. You got what was that? Drake London, excuse me. Yeah, Drake Jackson on the other side of the ball. And then you got
Ford, Brew McCoy.
Yep. So you got a lot of talent there. But here's another guy that I think could definitely do some things. Did you happen? I'm going to put you on the spot. Have you watched a decent amount of film on him, or not a ton yet on Jackson?
No, not a whole lot. I saw a couple highlights when I was doing my research, but nothing too in-depth. No.
So I just want to know what is going on with Narbonne's home field. It's basically a dirt track.
I think it's Narbonne.
What did I say?
Narbonne.
Oh, okay, sorry, Narbonne.
No,
Yeah, it's basically a dirt track. What's the grounds crew doing there?
I mean, hey, you play on what you're given, man.
Yeah.
And that's what some of these schools have to play on, and honestly, it just kind of goes to show the dedication from the players and the coaches that, hey, they're not playing in the prettiest, but we're going to produce some of the best, and that probably goes to a lot of his character, and not saying that he's going to be a better football player because of what he had to play with, but now it's like hey, look at all these resources he's going to have that he never has been given.
Yep.
How much better can he even be?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. So that's why I wanted to bring up that. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting. Looking at the field, I'm like, man, he's literally playing on dirt, and now he gets to play at one of the best facilities in the country. So congrats to Josh Jackson. All right, on to your next recruit you want to talk about.
Yeah, man. This recruiting class is very trench oriented.
Yes.
A lot of linemen on both sides of the ball. So it's just kind of natural. Really, we didn't have much of a choice. One of our picks had to be a lineman somewhere. So I'm going to go with probably a lesser known guy, and really in this deep class of offensive linemen, he's probably pretty low on the list. But I like something about this kid. His name's Andres DeWerk.
Mm-hmm.
He's out of Los Gatos up in Northern California. I think they may have lost in the CIF final. I forget to who, but anyway, in the northern section. But anyway, this is a 6'7", about 300-pound kid who is very, very raw. I've watched a couple of its tapes from like scouting camps and stuff like that. He's very raw, very stiff. But he's a young kid. If he has time to develop in the system and kind of get more, used to his body, put a little muscle on. He's got a good frame to add a lot of muscle to. I think down the road this kid could slide in. Probably more suited for right tackle. I don't know if he's a kid you want protecting the blind side necessarily. He has a struggle with speed rushers and kind of getting beaten inside. If you put him on the right side, I think he's going to do a lot better with that. But anyway. Andres DeWerk, that's going to be someone I want to highlight and kind of keep my eye on down the road to see if he develops into something that can be a staple for the Trojan offensive line.
Yeah, no, definitely. And yeah, this was a very trench heavy on both sides of the ball recruiting class thus far. So yeah, he'll be one of those guys they'll be able to groom and mold, and we'll see what he comes. But love the body, love the build, and love the cliche, but love the prospect of him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the future is where this kid's going to thrive.
Perfect. So. All right, well, then I guess I'll talk about the one 4-star recruit so far on this list. Got to at least mention him. Jonah Monheim out of Moore Park, offensive guard, 6'5", 280, so he's obviously going to want to add a little bit of weight, but a good size, good frame for a young kid, and highly recruited. So this is definitely a good get for Clay Helton and the Trojans. Recruited by Oklahoma, Alabama, Auburn, among others. I think what was fascinating to me, though, in the recruitment trail, because there was a lot of schools, a lot of big-name schools, but he was recruited by 5 Ivy League schools, which obviously tells you the kid is extremely intelligent, cares about the classroom, has a good head on his shoulders, which I think is important, especially at the offensive line position where you got to know a little bit of everything about the offense. So I think that's something that probably won't get talked about a lot, but it should be talked about because that's a good get for this offensive unit and someone that could end up being a leader in the trenches going forward.
Yeah, no, definitely agree with you. Kind of laid it all out, and definitely someone to be excited about for sure.
Yeah, so the 1 4-star, like I said, and we'll see. Again, has time to be groomed, time to kind of grow into that height, add a little bit more weight at the guard position, but we'll see when he gets his start there with the Trojans. But a good get, definitely a good get, getting him from some of those big schools, especially, he visited Oklahoma as well and chose to come down south to USC. So Jonah Monheim, like it.
Let's roll, baby.
Yeah, there we go. Fight on. So, 11 total signees yesterday. You can go to lafbnetwork.com. We have them all listed on there for you with some information about their national ranks and some recruitment stuff on there. So go to lafbnetwork.com and you can check out that for the Trojans recruits yesterday. But now let's move on to UCLA, who, by many accords, had a much better day than their rival USC. Finished the day nationally ranked 28th.
Stop it. On all accords, they beat USC. Come on. Don't be political. There's nothing about this class that is worse than USC's. Come on.
I didn't say that, did I?
You said on some accords. It's like, come on.
Okay. All right.
Come on.
On all accords.
Thank you.
Yes, on all accords, beat their rival. Finished the day ranked 28th nationally and 4th in the Pac-12. Good day for him, Coach.
Yeah, UCLA hadn't won a lot, so I wanted to give them a win. This is a win for UCLA, man.
Yeah.
Very early. It's called early signing period because obviously it's earlier than the official signing day. But a lot of good things, man. A lot of good things about this UCLA class, and the fact that kids are expressing interest in wanting to go to UCLA. Mm-hmm. That speaks a lot to what this team could do in the future if everything stays together. That's the biggest thing. Everything needs to stay together here.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously then you get to coaching, and then we'll see how they continue the recruiting down the line. But had a very good day. And if you're a Bruin fan out there, you got to be excited about this because this is I know it was a tough, bad season, but as Coach said, yes, this is an absolute win when there hasn't been a lot of winning. And I think for the question marks surrounding Chip Kelly after the season, and there was a lot of random rumors kind of swirling around, this was a good day in the Bruins for this year, and I think this is a lot to build on.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
So, speaking of building blocks, I'll let you start with one of the recruits you want to highlight.
All right, man. Yeah, for sure. So I'm going to go wide receiver. He went to Orange Lutheran, transfer over to Bosco for his senior year. Logan Loya. Yep. This kid is going to be a day one impact player. He is a very crisp route runner. He's very deceptive with his feet. There's zero wasted motion. Every single thing this kid does in his route is leading to something. This kid, he has amazing hands. He can track the ball. He's not an elite speed guy, but he can run away from guys. He has a second gear. Logan Loya is going to step on this field for UCLA in the Rose Bowl, and he's going to light up the Pac-12.
Yeah, no, I mean anyone that comes out of Bosco, I'm with, because that's going to be someone that has been playing for a good high school program. Obviously, we saw that what they did going through the CIS this year and nationally ranked, at the top spot. So coming from a great program, and yeah, he's going to join a unit that was a very underwhelming wide receiver unit. And I agree with you. I think he can make a day one impact right off the bat.
Oh yeah, dude. He and Kyle Phillips and Devin Asiasi, they're gonna be studs. That's gonna be a hell of a receiving core. And then you throw Felton in there. Man, the UCLA offense could be dangerous if they figure out the quarterback position. This could be a thing. We could have a thing now.
Absolutely. And that's a good segue I'll talk about my recruit. If they figure out the quarterback position, they were able to get a 4-star pro-style quarterback by the name of Parker McQuarrie out of Concord, Connecticut, to come, Concord, Connecticut, right?
New Hampshire, I think.
New Hampshire. Yes, I think you're right on that. Yes. So played at St. Paul's School out there. Not a ton of statistical fruition to go off of, but he has a great arm. He's a big guy at 6'7", weighing in roughly at 220 pounds. So he's got that big body for being such a young kid. And he plays a two-way style, not necessarily a true dual threat, but very athletic, and is someone that Chip Kelly can really now truly mold, hopefully, and build into a quarterback that he wants to run his offense. Because we've seen the struggles, obviously, of DTR, and we've kind of talked about is it time to move on from him? And, as a true freshman, not saying Parker's going to start right off the bat, but he'll have definitely a chance to get in there and compete. And, he was highly recruited by a lot of other teams as well, Michigan, Miami, Massachusetts, Boston College, to name a few. So decided to come all the way west to UCLA, which speaks highly among this recruitment job done by the Bruin staff. So, I like to see what they can do with him, and maybe he'll be the quarterback of the future.
Hey, you never know. And really, the backup right now slips my mind. I know we watched him.
Yeah, awesome.
Austin Burton, thank you. Whether it be DTR, if he figures it out, Austin Burton, this McQuarrie kid's going to come in and he's going to compete. Yeah. He's going to compete. And this might be a three-dog race here, depending on if the staff is comfortable with DTR and Burton. Maybe they slap a red shirt on McQuarrie. That might be an option. But I'm telling you, this kid's coming in to compete. He's looking at this as his job.
Yeah, and McQuarrie, I watched some film on him. Has a good arm. Obviously when you're doing these high school highlight reels. You're showing all the big plays, so a lot of the plays were just 40-yard bombs. So he throws the seam route and throws the go route real good. I obviously want to see his decision making, his pocket presence and stuff like that, and how he grooms that way. But obviously the arm talent's there, the size is there. I mean, 6'7", 220 is an 18-year-old. Like, I can't imagine being that big at 18. But yeah,
I can imagine being that big at 28.
Yeah, I'm a foot short in that basically. So, so a good get, and it'll be fun to see how they groom him and if he comes in and how he competes in spring ball.
Yeah, that's I'm with you though. I think it's a good get. So that's a good get.
Could be a good pairing with him and some of those new young receivers.
Yeah, for sure. That could be interesting, man. All right, my last one for UCLA, and I'm going to apologize in advance if I mispronounce this name, but Mitchell Aguda from Riverside Community College. He played at now I'm not going to remember. But anyway, this kid has a pretty cool story. So he had committed to Maryland, and then had to decommit because some of his credits did not transfer over. So he spent the spring making up classes, taking about 20 plus hours of classes to make sure that he was now eligible for D1 football. And then like I said, played at Riverside, and then now he's coming to UCLA. He's coming back home. He's a local kid, but this is a D-end edge rusher type of guy. I expect him to come in and play that 3-4 outside linebacker edge rusher. He's about 6'4", about 235. I saw some tape, saw some highlights from Riverside. The guy plays with such an edge. He's got a pretty good inner move. He's got a pretty good nasty, kind of stiff arm swim move to the inside. Not a lot of elite speed, so I don't think he's going to beat a ton of people just with pure speed, but he is a strong kid, and he's very good with his feet, very active with his hands. I'm really excited to see what this kid can do. And the reason I wanted to highlight him was because we saw recently a guy that meant so much to this team that was from the community college ranks, and that was Joshua Kelly. Came from, or not, I guess he wasn't community college, but he was UC Davis. He was a smaller school. Well, that just goes to show what some of these transfers can do and mean to their respective units. And I think Mitchell Aguda is going to come in and kind of light a spark, because this kid has an infectious way about him and the way he plays the game, and he's so family oriented. I don't know. I'm really looking forward to seeing what this kid can do inside the Rose Bowl.
Absolutely, and being from that Riverside Community College program, which is such a good football program at the community college ranks. He's obviously got a winning pedigree under his belt now, and a big body you mentioned. So I think he could come in and be a day one impact right off the bat. So good getting him to stay home and transfer over to UCLA.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think so. I think this was a blessing in disguise for sure for both parties. I think UCLA got a really good one. I think there's a reason that Aguda is supposed to come to UCLA.
Absolutely. So slam dunk. So, my last one is not going to have a very, very far commute, at least for game days. I'm going to talk about John Humphrey, who's a cornerback at a John Muir High School right here in Pasadena. Right by the Rose Bowl, so he knows it well. Probably grew up going to games there. A big corner, 6'2", 176, so has great size. I've seen some comparisons to him. Obviously, don't want to look too far down the line, but I've seen some Kevin King comparisons, the old Washington product, and now plays for the Green Bay Packers. So obviously he's got long arms. He's got some good speed. Can stay with those faster receivers. Some short area quickness. But John Humphrey, a 3-star recruit, and decides to stay home and go right to his local school with UCLA. So I think it's a good get for the Bruins to add to that back end on the defensive side of the ball that'll see them lose a lot of guys this season or this offseason.
Yeah, no, I think so. And what's gonna be interesting is when Stanford and UCLA play, and we have John Humphrey covering John Humphreys. That could be a little confusing. That'll
definitely be some interesting to watch how the broadcasters tackle that one, if you will. A lot of puns there.
That'll be fun. No, I agree. I think that's a really good get for the secondary UCLA. They've sported some good secondaries here lately, and I think Humphrey's going to be a good addition to that.
Definitely. So excited to watch him groom with the system, and I'm glad he stayed close to home. But yeah, that's great size for a corner, so that'll be fun. But one guy we won't talk about, at least want to mention, he's kind of the biggest get for this class, another 4-star. So if you're keeping track, that's 1 4-star for the Trojans and 2 now for the Bruins. Damian Sellers, outside linebacker out of Segura, which is in Scottsdale, Arizona. So another, we won't go into too much detail, but another really good get for this Trojans team to get. This Bruins team to get.
Yeah. No, he was the grand prize of this early signing period with Sellers, and the fact that his LOI is now in, and he's a Bruin. He's going to be a Bruin. Yeah, he was. Not to say he's as good as Justin Flo, because he's not, but he was the Justin Flo of the UCLA signing day. What would have been for USC. I think he headlines it, but then everybody else just beefs it up, man. Everybody else looks better because of him.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's funny, not really funny, but when you compare the two, the Trojans class was literally all trench guys, defensive tackles, offensive linemen, and then you see this Bruins, it has a lot of linebackers. Obviously, the Bruins are losing, I think, all of their linebackers that started last year, so they got a lot of linebackers coming in and a lot of skill guys coming in and a lot of edge rushers. So they're kind of the flashy, more recruiting class is this Bruins. But yeah, got a lot of good guys. So I'm very pleased with what Chip Kelly and his staff did in this early signing period.
Yeah, no, it's a good haul. Really looking forward to the momentum that this will carry on into the national signing day, which is February something. I don't know the exact date of it, but yeah, very excited to see what this UCLA team can do. And I really do. I'm getting kind of bought in here. I really don't want to see Chip go anywhere. I think good things are happening. And I hope nothing derails that.
Yeah, I agree. So, a little more time going into year 3. I think he's building something. Last thing I'll say about it, just at least want to mention it. Again, you can find all this stuff on lafbnetwork.com if you want to kind of look through the recruits. But 4 guys that didn't sign yesterday, but they are hard commits. You got 3 more Bosco guys. Jonathan Vaughns, outside linebacker, Nathaniel Jones, running back, and Jake Newman, safety. So 3 more Bosco guys potentially coming to the blue and gold.
It's funny that you mentioned those because I had them listed. I had them written down. I am that Bosco team is so good, and I wondered if some of that none of them were really expected to sign this early.
Yeah.
So that's not like a big shock or anything, and I know that's not what you're alluding to, but I'm just saying. Out of all 3 of those guys, man, I'm excited about Nathaniel Jones. I'm not going to lie to you. Mm-hmm. I really hope this kid ends up at UCLA. I'm excited about all of them. All 3 of those guys would be program-changing guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the fact that their buddy, Logan Loy is going to be stepping on campus, and hopefully he keeps the band together. I think those Bosco kids could do something special with the Bruins that we already have, and I'm serious. I get really excited when I think about this future.
Yeah, the future is bright. So Bruins fan out there, definitely a victory for you yesterday, and we'll see how they build upon it going forward. But a great day for the Bruins.
Yes. Yes, sir.
So, and we'll see how the Trojans can rebound. And again, congrats to all the kids that signed their letters. Head to lafbnetwork.com to kind of see the full list of all of them. But yeah, good stuff. So, well, now let's get into some XFL Wildcat talk. We're going to welcome on the president of the LA Wildcats and get her kind of, take on the team, take on the league, and what the team plans to do in this new league. So here is our interview with the president of the LA Wildcats. All right, we could not be more thrilled on the Believe in LA Football podcast to welcome on our first guest for our Wildcat portion of the show. And what better guest than to invite the president of the team, the Los Angeles Wildcats, Heather Brooks Karatz. Thank you so much for joining us. How you doing?
I'm awesome. So excited to be on the show and honored to be your first guest. Thank you.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, we know you're crazy busy right now with the league being about 50 days away from launching, plus all the interviews and media time you're doing just to get the word out there. So thanks for joining us to talk a little bit. I wanted to start, though, going kind of, back in time a little bit. Obviously, you graduated from Vanderbilt. Then you got your law degree from right here at local University of California, Los Angeles. What was it that drew you into sports? Obviously, getting that law degree, but then you've worked a lot in sports since then. So what drove you to get into the sports industry?
I love this question. I don't get asked this every day, and the answer is I've always wanted to be in sports. I got my first job and first taste when I was 18 years old, working for what is now the Cap One Arena in D.C. when Michael Jordan was playing on the Wizards. And I helped the sponsorship team and arena events and just was hooked from that minute on. And so I realized that going to law school was going to be a great way to enter the industry and find the best place and set up experiences.
I love it. I feel like Michael Jordan probably has influenced a lot of people to get into sports. So I love that Michael Jordan was your inspiration. So
this is really a fun fact about me. My first job in sports was for Michael Jordan.
Yeah, I love it.
Not a lot of people can say that, so that's good.
All right, so moving over to your now job with the XFL, you were the first president named by Vince McMahon and Oliver Luck. You were the president of obviously the LA Wildcats. What did it feel like for you to be able to kind of put that feather in your cap of I was the first ever team president of this XFL league?
I'm just really excited that I get to work with 7 other amazing team presidents and great staff at the league office. It was clear right out of the gates that Jeffrey Pollack and Oliver Luck were looking at finding fresh faces to run professional sports teams. And the group that they assembled across all 8 markets is incredible. And because we have this single entity structure, I get to be on the phone every day with the other team presidents working in a super collaborative manner. And I think we're all perfect fits for our respective markets.
So that's perfect. You kind of little bit alluded into what my next question is going to be, and it's more so for our listeners, but also for us as we were kind of looking into this. Obviously, the NFL is the beast. Everyone knows how that is run with 32 NFL owners, and it's kind of almost a separate entity under the shield of the NFL. So how is the structure of the XFL different? Because everything we've seen, there's not an owner per se of each team. It's kind of league run, and then you as a president and the 7 other presidents will kind of handle each of your markets. So just talk a little bit about the overall structure of the league.
Sure. So Vince McMahon owns all 8 teams. There are no individual team owners. And then each team is kind of divided in half, where our coach and general manager, in LA's case, Winston Moss, oversees everything football related. And then I, as the team president, oversee everything fan engagement oriented. So that's ticket sales, corporate partnerships, community, content, PR. I'm forgetting a few categories, but you get the gist. Everything else falls under me.
Okay. Yeah. I like that. I actually really, I'm intrigued by that. I'd like to talk to, maybe about that later, but I do have a next question for you. You spent time with the LAFC as the vice president, and then being an expansion team within the league already ran, that was a pretty big undertaking and a challenge, if you will. And now here you are kind of in the same boat, although there's an extra layer to it. Not only is it an expansion team, it's a brand new league altogether. So what have you learned from the LAFC project that you're going to use here, and what new challenges may you experience from this?
I loved my time at LAFC, and I feel so fortunate to have had my years there launching that team and building Bank of California Stadium. We did an incredible job while we were at LAFC building a grassroots fan base. And that was probably one of the reasons I was hired to come over to the XFL, is to take those experiences and try to do something similar. There are a couple differences, though, that I think are worth pointing out, in that when we started LAFC, we were an expansion team, but within a league that had existed for decades, and within a sport where a supporters culture was something that was incredibly well known and respected across the world. And so there was at least a vision and a actual structural building that people could picture as to what LAFC would stand for when we had no players, no coach, no colors, logo, etc. In this case, we really were starting from the ground up, and we still are. We're still out there telling our story for the first time and explaining to folks who we are and what we're going to be. And we're also, as one of our other team presidents says frequently, we're building the airplane while we're flying it. So what that means in terms of building a fan base is that it's just going to take longer, right? Because it's a longer process to tell the story and to get people on board, because there isn't a pre-existing framework that you're plugging into.
Yeah, Heather, I love that you use the phrase "telling the story," as being we're storytellers, or we consider ourselves to be, and that is what makes this so fun. So what we've talked to you before. We've heard you talk to other interviews, and you always talk about the Wildcat way, and that's kind of the story, if you will, of this team. So talk a little bit about what is the Wildcat way and how you want to portray that to this fan base, to this city, to really get people behind what the Wildcat way is.
I love that the Wildcat way is taking on a life of its own. It's unique for us, and it stands for something special. So it really all starts with the concept that the entire XFL and the LA Wildcats are all about for the love of football. We are here because we love this game and want more of it. But on the fan side, there's a couple tentpole components that our brand will always stand for. We're putting our fans first. We're going to give them unprecedented access. We're going to be affordable. And in LA in particular, we are going to have community as a pillar tenet for everything that we do. How do we use football as a springboard to impact the community? And then the last piece is making sure our fans have a voice. That ties back to fans first, but we really want to make sure that our fans' input is taken seriously and is heard and incorporated wherever we can.
Yeah, that's that actually is a perfect segue into my final question here, Heather. If there is one word you would use to describe this organization to a somewhat new fan base, what would that word be?
I don't know if it would be one word, but what I would say is we are all Wildcats.
There you go. I like it.
We're all Wildcats, and truly, it doesn't matter who your other football teams are that you root for. Let's unite together in the spring and come together and all be about for the love of football.
Absolutely, yeah, that's great. So, Heather, before we let you go real quick, we'll obviously be covering the team here on the LA Football Podcast, and couldn't be more thrilled to do that. But we'd be remiss, at least if we didn't ask you to talk about, you mentioned these low ticket prices and affordability and inviting fans to really be at the forefront and a part of it. So quickly, briefly, before we let you go, talk about, your ticket packages. I know you're doing some holiday specials and stuff to really get people and fans involved with these Wildcats and get to know their players and have a great family experience on game days.
Yes, it's all about affordable tickets. So over 50% of our venue is $30 or less a seat on a season basis. That is pretty remarkable and should be affordable for all. Our 5-game packages start at $20, but we really want everybody there on February 16th for our home opener. Tickets start at $24. A family of 4 can come to a game for under $100. So be there February 16th, and please follow us at XFL Wildcats, and that's where you can find all of this information.
Yeah, great social media follow, and no excuses. Can't miss it, February 16th. So, Heather Brooks Karatz, thank you so much for joining us, president of the new Los Angeles Wildcats, and enjoy the rest of your week. Have a great holiday season, and thanks so much for jumping on the podcast with us.
Thanks for having me, but before I go, I need to hear a roar. On 3.
All right.
1, 2, 3.
Roar!
Roar!
I think you got us beat. I like it, though. Thank you, Heather. A big thanks to both of our guests today on the Believe in LA Football Podcast, Eric Davis for giving us some insight on the Rams and Niners preview, and the president of the Los Angeles Wildcats, Heather Brooks Karatz. Thank you both so much for joining us. Hope you all enjoyed listening out there. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe to the Believe in LA Football Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. We are everywhere you listen. Hit us up on social media. We are on Twitter. You can find the coach at the Coach LAFB. You can find myself, Ryan Dyrud, LAFB, or our main account at LAFB Network. Also, if you're not on social media, you can email us. It's going to be podcast@lafbnetwork.com. So thank you all so much for tuning in. We'll be back on Monday right before Christmas to have a special Christmas edition of the LA Football Podcast. So we'll talk to you then. But until then, enjoy the weekend, and go Rams and go Chargers.
With the holidays just around the corner, now is the time to order holiday cards for family and friends. Only this year, why not create custom holiday photo cards quickly, easily, and affordably at simplytoimpress.com. Simplytoimpress.com is your holiday photo card headquarters with thousands of unique Christmas cards and other designs to choose from. All you do is upload your family photos, personalize the text, and you're done. Simplytoimpress.com prints your cards on your choice of premium cardstock stock in just a few days and rushes them straight to your door. Maybe that's why the New York Times Wirecutter named Simply to Impress their favorite photo card service. They even offer foil cards and hundreds of great holiday card designs for your business, too. Place your order today to save 30% and get free shipping. Just enter promo code DEAL at checkout. Save big on holiday photo cards today using promo code DEAL at simplytoimpress.com. That's simplytoimpress.com.